Well, hello everybody. I'm Petra Mayer at Petra Mayer and Associates Consulting, and today I'm super proud to have with me one of my dear clients, David C. Bentall. David is a G3 successor, and throughout the course of our conversation, you will find out what that means. He has worked for 20 plus years in family business. Now he is the founding principal of Next Step Advisor, and he is widely respected mentor, workshop leader, and family enterprise advisor. David is dedicated to helping families learn and grow together. And he's the author of 3 books, including Dear Younger Me, Wisdom for Family Enterprise Successors. Welcome, David, and I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you, Petra. This should be fun.
Well, David, so you are a speaker, you're an author, you're a coach, you're a family business advisor. Which one of these roles do you resonate with the most?
Well, it's interesting. I suppose I should confess, my sister told me after we sold the family business years ago, David, now you can do what God always intended you to do. You can be a teacher. And I went, I'm not a teacher. But as I've come to discover in the last 25 years, I fundamentally at my core, I'm a teacher. And so each of these things, advising other families, coaching, mentoring, speaking, writing, all of these things are really just an outgrowth of the teaching. But I think, so I resonate most with a label that actually overarches all of those, which is teacher. But I suppose I resonate most with speaker. I find the thrill of being in front of an audience, sharing my life and my heart. I think that's the most thrilling part of my professional life. So most challenging perhaps too, but yeah, I enjoy that.
Yeah, and I know that secretly you have another role that you really resonate with. Tell us about that role that is from your personal life.
Well, it's how we met, right? I'm a competitive water skier. Took up water skiing as a serious hobby. It was always, I learned to water ski when I was 8 years of age, but when I turned 40, I started competing, and so that's been a really wonderful thing for me, and especially as a family enterprise successor who worked in our family companies, as you say, for 20 years, transitioning from being in our family company to then building my own business. It was a very destabilizing period. You know, I thought my whole life was going to be in the business, Petra. And so one of the things that provided some stability was I had this other quest I was working on, which was to try and see if I could one day win a championship. So that's been a great journey for me too.
Mm-hmm. And then I need to bring in another little personal story here. So to the left of you, there is Tigger. What's the story of Tigger?
Well, it's interesting. So you mentioned that I'm a coach. My executive coach, Laura North, who I worked with, still work with her now, but started working with her, I guess, 25 years ago. She said, David, I think you're conscientious about your life, and that leads you sometimes to be a little bit serious. And she said, I'd like to bring a little more lightheartedness to you. And she said, you know, what stuffed animal would you identify with the most? And I said, well, my friends, my closest friends call me Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, because I kind of up for anything, always bouncing around. And she said, I want you to get a stuffed animal, which is what I bought, this Tigger. And she said, I want you to strap it to your briefcase and take it with you on your next business trip. And I thought she was crazy, but it was actually a really brilliant idea, because how do you take yourself seriously when you got a stuffed animal like Tigger dangling from your briefcase at the airport and in meetings? So that's why Tigger is sitting on my bookshelf.
Yeah, I always like that story, and it's what a great reminder that you have him sitting there, kind of watching what you're doing, watching over it. Yeah. So you said speaker. So speaker, you mostly identify with speaker, but yet just recently you published your 3rd book, Dear Younger Me. So can you tell us what prompted you for writing this book?
Sure. Petra, it was actually, I had a very sad flight home to Vancouver. Sad in the sense that I'd had 2 family client meetings and I'd prepared well for them, but both of them had gone badly. And I was reflecting on, one was in one city and one in a different place. And so I was flying home to Vancouver. I was reflecting on what had gone wrong. And I thought, I didn't think it was about what I'd done in my prep, but I started thinking about it. I realized one of the young successors in one meeting was really impatient. And that impatience was like a cloud that hung over all of the meeting. And then the other meeting, I was thinking there'd been another member of the next gen that, probably fair to say, was angry, at least, if not bitter, and certainly frustrated, Petra. And I thought, those two individuals had dampened the mood and had a negative impact on these meetings. And I thought, I'm sure glad I wasn't like that when I was younger. Was I? and I realized I had been the same way. I had been impatient. I had been angry and frustrated with other people in our family. And I started to think, gosh, I wonder whether I could have been a much more productive member of our family enterprise. And so I grabbed this sheet of paper and started writing out what ways was I unhelpful. Didn't take me long to have a list of 10 ways that I had been unhelpful. And so I started thinking, maybe there's a book here about about how next gen successors could cultivate emotional intelligence that would enable them to be more patient, to be more empathetic to others, to be better listeners to the elder generation. And so that's what I've written about, Petra, the idea that what I wish I'd done, I wish I'd done, dear younger me, what I wish I'd done 25, 30 years ago, and what I hope to help next gen leaders cultivate in their own life. So
yeah. So I remember when we met the very first time that you were putting the finishing touches. At least
we were on the way to the lake, weren't we?
We were on the lake to the lake. Yeah. At least you thought it was the finishing touches. I know that there were many more finishing touches afterwards, but you were putting the finishing touches on this book. So do you recall our conversation on the way to the lake and back?
I'll never forget it, because I understood that you'd had years of helping entrepreneurs and leaders and educators put together courses. And I asked you a little bit about your experience, and you said, one of the things that disappointed you about some of the work you've done is that you'd worked with individuals who were really wanting to sell programs for the dollars as opposed to for the potential to transform and help others. And I said, how would you like to work with someone who really like, first and foremost, to help others? And you said, well, that'd be refreshing. That'd be different. And I think you and I bonded in that moment, because, of course, I'd like to earn something from the courses that we've done together. But my first impulse is I want to help other successors to get a better result than I got. And so it's been really fun, Petra, to have your help as we've been working on this together. So.
Yeah. So Dear Younger Me was kind of the seed in some ways to what we call emotional intelligence for successors. So tell us a little bit more about your perspective of this transformation from a book into a program, or even in your case, a series of programs.
Well, I think that the program development began before you and I met, when the University of British Columbia asked me to create an online number of lectures. So we did, I think it was 54 mini lectures, actually a combination of mini lectures and fireside chats. And so the university helped put together with a videographer these wonderful video mini lectures and fireside chats. So we already had that, and we had a book, but how to take that and make that into a course. And I think, Petra, the moment where I think we really stumbled onto something that was, I think, primarily, I think the rocket fuel for what we've done was to realize that if people are going to cultivate emotional intelligence, they need mentoring and coaching. And so what you've done is helped me to take the material. It's there, it's in lectures, it's in fireside chats, it's in a book, but you helped me to say, let's put that in a format where there could be case studies and one-on-one coaching sessions and peer group learning. And so that journey of putting that together has been a rich and meaningful one. And I've really enjoyed taking ideas that are in my head and ideas that are in videos and in book form, and then creating courses out of them. And now we've created, 9 different modules out of that, or 9 different monthly programs that cover each of the 9 different traits from the book.
Yeah. Well, and I know that when we were going through this process, I was always encouraging you to try things and experiment and play and get feedback and continuous improvement. So that was a process that maybe over time became a lot easier for you.
You weren't encouraging me. You were pushing me, challenging me, goading me. It was great.
Yeah, and nowadays you often come first and say, hey, let's experiment. You always tell me to experiment. Let's experiment on this. So, but how does experimentation help you in this process?
Well, it was so interesting because, during COVID, you said, people are all at home. Why don't we just try something? And I said, well, we're not ready. She said, I know. You said, but we could be. And so you goaded me into giving it a try. And I said, summer's coming. She said, well, let's do it anyway. Let's give it a try. And, we started, and I was thrilled how just jumping into the deep end of the pool and starting to swim, we got wet, but a bunch of people got some learning, and it was really fun to do that. So.
What are the biggest transformations that you've seen in the clients that have gone through emotional intelligence for Successors to date?
Well, the great thing is I think that all of them have enjoyed things. All of them are different. It's been a small group program, as you know, on purpose. And so, we had 7 take the first program, and I think 9 take the second program. And it's designed for between 7 and 12 folks to take the program together to learn from each other. I guess 3 people come to mind right off the top of my head. One, the biggest transformation was his relationship with his dad. Mm-hmm. One of the participants, has been working professionally in their family firm, worked outside the family firm to get experience there first. And he took the program because he wanted to improve his relationship with his dad. And so listening, one of the traits, humility and curiosity, these 3 traits are the three traits we covered in the program he took. Those 3 things helped him, along with the individual one-on-one coaching he had. These things helped him to improve and enhance his relationship with his father. So for me, if I don't do anything in my life, having helped that one individual to have a better relationship with his dad was a real joy to me. And I guess the other 2 people that come to mind, one of the women who took the program said afterwards, she said, they should be teaching this stuff at business school. I got a business degree, but nobody's been teaching us how to relate to others and have quality relationships. And that was really gratifying to hear. And then one of the other participants said that he'd found the program transformational. Now, this is a guy who had a very, very serious accident and frankly was fortunate to come out of the experience alive, but had very traumatic fall and broke both legs and femurs and hips. And it was in, they were at danger of actually having to amputate from the hip down on both legs. And yet this man has been cultivating gratitude. I was thinking about that. He's grateful he's alive, but but as he took this program, he was talking about how he's come to realize the need for further transformation in his life. And he's already had this amazing experience, but he learned more about humility. He learned more about the value of listening to others, that his brother, his sister, his parents. And so it's been very exciting to see people have these kinds of transformations. So it's been really great, Petra, to see how people are responding to the material and to the program we put together.
I remember in one of the very first group sessions that we had where I was attending, how people would say, wow, this is so amazing because people understand me, and they have the same problem. I'm not weird. I'm just one, they're like me. They have the same issues, and bringing people together in that context has had, I think, a huge impact on them. So in some ways you've put in training program, mentorship, coaching, but you also created a space where they can connect with others who have similar experiences, and that exchange of experiences is hugely valuable, I think.
Well, I think that was one of the greatest joys of the program, which actually was a surprise to me, that how much, I mean, they joked about, can we have meetings without mom and dad there, meaning without me and our coaching team, could they meet together? Because they so crave this opportunity, as you say, to connect with others who were weird like them, or at least, in a similar circumstance. And I think that was a wonderful thing that we saw. That was one of the greatest joys of the program.
Yeah. So if you were to give advice to another professional advisor who has developed intellectual property, experiences that they've turned into systems or processes, like you have, written books, presenting as a keynote speaker, giving workshops, but they want to now create more programming, marketable services, what would be your advice to them how to get started?
Well, I think several things. So you've mentioned, you're assuming perhaps folks have written some things down. So the first thing that I would do is, if they haven't written, I've now had the opportunity to do 3 books. If you've got IP, but you don't have a book yet, some people think, well, books are old, we don't need books anymore. We still need books. We also need other things like podcasts and various other things that blogs and Zoom opportunities to do things, but using other interactive channels. But I think if people haven't written a book, I just would encourage people with IP to write it down. It's worth the effort, because then it gives you a foundation to work from. And then the other thing that I was so happy that the University of British Columbia, 18 years ago, I think it was, it asked me to start lecturing on campus. And I would encourage people, if they want to get their IP out there, to take opportunities, whether it's speaking or lecturing or volunteering to teach, so that they can get opportunities to practice delivering their material. And then beyond that becomes the fun of saying, well, what kind of material can we create in a course format? And my answer is very, very much, speaking with you, I would say hire a pro like Petra to help you put together a program, because I've got ideas in my head, and I can articulate them either in a written form or in a presentation. But Petra, I don't want to make you blush, but your organizational ability, your skill in following through with detail, and hounding me to get the case studies written, that provided structure and discipline. It actually, I was thinking about this in advance of our call, and I earlier in my career did a lot of fundraising, whether it would be with the United Way or with our the school our son went to, the private school, or the church camp that our kids all went to. And fundraising is about being disciplined and following through and making the phone call and then following up and providing material. And Petra, you bring that wonderful sense of discipline and follow through, and almost like a drum major, keeping us on task. And so if someone wants to do this, I would encourage them to get someone like you to help them to provide the structure and discipline and guidance, because I never would have developed the course without your help. So.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for saying that and acknowledging that. And you always have been very, very gracious in acknowledging the role that we all play in this, because we're a team. It's a team experience that
it's a team sport. It's a team
sport for sure. And I think one thing that you're speaking to here that very much speaks to my heart is that we all bring different perspectives and different expertise to it. Yeah. And I think I see a lot of professional advisors struggling with this. They have this great idea, but bringing the idea from concept to delivery, from the idea to something that they can actually put out on their website, promote, work on collaboration like we're doing right now for your programs. That's a lot of steps down, down the road or up the hill, however you want to look at it. And having those steps, it takes a lot of energy. Yeah. And I think we need to have our cheerleaders that get us there.
Well, and you're much more than a cheerleader, which you are a cheerleader, but why try and reinvent the wheel? You've done it so many times before. So you were able to help guide me in doing the work and point me in the right direction. So, I think that if someone wants to do any kind of professional course, working with someone who's done it before, it makes a lot more sense than just trying to reinvent the wheel.
So as we're closing, and I really appreciate your time this afternoon, but as we're going to share this interview, and I hope that you will share the interview, how can the listeners to this interview find out more about EQ4S, about your book? Where can they go? And might you even, and I know I didn't tell you this beforehand, but might you even have a little gift for them? Sure.
Well, if anybody's interested, they can just jump on my website, nextstepadvisors.ca, and we're happy to send them an excerpt from Dear Younger Me to give them a taste of what that's like. And it's now it's available in audio as well as, so you can go on to Amazon and order an Audible version, read by the author even. So that's available if you're interested. And of course, if people choose to order either Dear Younger Me or Leaving a Legacy from my website, we send them up from our home so that I can sign them personally. So if you're interested, I'd be happy to provide those resources to people. So.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, David. And I'll be sure to add those links to the bottom of this interview. Great. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. It's been great fun working with you, Petra, and thanks for this today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Awesome. Bye for now.